Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome back, everybody, to Tuesday night on the SIKH Channel. Tonight should be interesting. We've been at this for a couple months now, and every couple weeks or so, I'll do I call it Questions with Friends, where it's an open conversation. Anybody gets to ask questions or pick on me at will. So if you're watching and you want to ask a question, please comment below. Put your questions. I'll be able to see them and share the feed. See if how many people we can get on here tonight. But so it's been a very trying several months. And being in the U.S., it's probably been even a little more trying than it is in other places right now. But I take great joy in being able to have discussions with my friends and family. And tonight, my guest is my friend, and I consider my family. So we're just going to have a conversation. We're going to ask each other some questions, and we'll see where it goes from here. But remember, if you hear something and you want to ask a question, feel free to type it in the comments, and we'll see it here shortly. So tonight, my guest is Chelsea Badi. Her husband, if you've been watching, is Mani Singh, who's been on a couple times, and Chelsea's also been on a couple times, but we've never actually done this one-on-one before. There's always been other people in the conversation. We did one called Life, Love, and Family, where it was me and my wife and Chelsea and Mani. That one was a really, really good episode. And Mani was on with me 2 weeks ago solo, and so tonight I've got Chelsea. So, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. How are you?
Good. So, we, for those that don't remember or didn't listen, didn't hear it the last time, Chelsea and Mani work on one of the First Nation reservations in northern Ontario. So, and I looked it up a couple weeks ago trying to see, how you could get there from here, and you can't. You can't drive there for sure. So it was like a 5.5 hours worth of flying from Toronto to where you're at, right?
There's no direct flight right now because of COVID. They're chartering us, so they're rolling out the red carpet. It's Toronto to Thunder Bay, and then Thunder Bay into here, and it's about six plus hours total. Yeah.
Wow, that's awful.
Yes, it is.
So, one of the things that and we've talked about in previous conversations is, and I told you I was going to let you have the first question, but I lied, so I'm going to take the first question. So we talked about taking Amrit, and so I know for me, I feel like I'm ready to take Amrit. I feel like I'm on that path, and I'm sure there's a whole group of guys that know me that would tell you no, I'm not ready by any stretch. But you've talked about having hesitation about that, and you are a practicing Sikh. Mani is Amritdhari. So I'm really curious how you feel like where you're at versus when you think you may or may not.
One of the really interesting kind of changes in terminology that Mani and I use, instead of saying I'm taking Amrit, we phrase it as you're given Amrit by the Guru. And I think even you yourself, Brian, have referenced this before, that, maybe Amrit hasn't been given to you yet because it's not your time. And I really firmly believe that when Guru thinks you're ready, Guru will present Amrit to you. Guru will give Amrit to you. But of course, I still have my ego a little bit. I don't think there's very many people out there that are completely separated from their ego. No. So I always have, thoughts running through my head of, it's almost, am I worthy to be given Amrit? There's a lot of discipline that goes along with being given Amrit. And, I doubt whether or not I have that discipline, to be very honest.
Yeah. About discipline. I feel like sometimes that the discipline will find me. I've never been known to be that guy that, made a vow, swore an oath, whatever, and then broke that. So I almost feel like the discipline I will impart on myself as part of, I made you a promise. I made a vow to be this individual, to be this type of person. And I feel like the discipline will follow, which is contrary to almost all the advice that I've ever been given, that says, live like that for a while and see if you can do it. So I don't know. For me, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's been my thought process. Like, see if you can do it before you leap into the pool. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. I look at it, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong sometimes, or maybe I'm making, strange comparisons. But when I was 17, I raised my right hand and, swore to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There was no way to prep myself for what came after that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You just kind of throw yourself into the pool and hope somebody's there to teach you, and sometimes I feel that way about Amrit, that there's only so much preparation you can do. I mean, what's for the American military, at least up until recently, I mean, the best you could do to prepare for boot camp was do some push-ups and, shave your head, just so you didn't get beat up when you got to boot camp or something. But I don't know. I think that's the way I look at it, and maybe it's a poor way of looking at it. I don't know. I just know that's how I kind of feel that, about me. Once I make that commitment, that's it, and then you do it.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, I'm also afraid of disappointing Guru, if that's making sense to anyone, and not only disappointing Guru, disappointing my spiritual partner. I know money would never say anything like, "Oh, you let me down," but you really do have that fear sometimes that you could disappoint someone, and to me, the ultimate just horrible thing would be disappointing Guru, and I think that scares me a little bit too. Is disappointing.
Yeah, I don't know. We talk about disappointing people, and there are many stories out there of Gursikhs who were very spiritually gifted and for whatever reason, fell a little. Maybe some of that ego got back at them or whatever. But I don't know if that ever is something to, and there's there's a lot of shaming that goes on in our community a lot, whether it's overt or not. You know, there's a lot of passive aggressive stuff that happens. You just watch social media, you know, SIKH social media for a while, and you can see it. But you know, I feel like, you know, Satsangat should be there to catch you. That's what they're there for. I don't know that we can ever. There's very few people that have ever been able to eliminate all of their ego and all of it, anger, and I think with Sangat, and we've had the discussion about Sangat before, and I've written about it before. You know, we should be supporting one another. We should be trying to help each other go that direction. So, and I get it. I would hate to be the person that, you know, disappointed Guru, or I don't know if you can disappoint Guru. I don't know that that's possible. I think you know, you take one step towards, and he takes a million steps towards you. And as long as you keep pressing forward, I think that, you know, Guru's love is always there. You know, and Hook'em is what Hook'em is. You know, and that's so. I don't know. That was a good opening conversation. Okay, your turn. You get to pick on me.
Actually, I do have a question for you, and we touched on it very briefly when we did our life, love, and family talk.
Mm-hmm.
You have a young daughter. She's about 9 years old, correct?
She's 7.
7. Oh, she's tall. Holy cow.
She's very tall.
Okay. And I know that you talked about how she's kind of curious about Sikhi, and you've been, and she's probably one of the most spiritual people in your household, I think you've mentioned. And it's you know, with Money and I being in the family way, dating myself back to about the 1940s there. You know, you think about how you're going to pass Guru's love onto Guru's gift, essentially, that you're bringing into this world. And I'm curious about how you have already approached and how you plan to continue teaching your daughter about Sikhi and the love of Guru, and that everything's Guru, essentially, right?
You know, my intent for her is to understand SIKH. If you know, our situation here is different, and people who don't know, my wife is not SIKH. Her adopted father is a Methodist minister. Her biological parents are very Baptist, Southern Baptist. So I have to try and make sure that she understands SIKH. If I can get her to understand SIKH and the love of SIKH and SIKH Onkar, then I think there may be some success, because there's competing philosophies in the family, and that doesn't make it easy, you know, because she really does not see the difference. You know, at her age, you're Sikh, you're Christian, it's God, we're good. You know, and she's very quick to tell you that God wouldn't be happy with you if you did this or that. But she doesn't make a distinction between Sikhi and Christianity. She did it right now. She wants me to read her, you know, my Gurmukhi books, and, you know, tell her what I'm reading, and I guess trying to lead from the front, you know, lead by example, to give her that is probably the best way. You know, kids will mimic in the beginning and imitate what they see. And as they get older, they'll develop that kind of understanding. So if I'm sitting and doing Simran, and she wants to come sit and do Simran with me, she doesn't understand what that is, but she's sitting with me and we're doing it. And I think as the children get older and they start to make that differentiation, at least in our house, that she will know that there's a difference between Christianity and Sikhi. Then she'll be ready for that explanation, and then we'll go into that. But my intent is for her to have the knowledge of oneness, and that way, when she gets older, she can make that decision for herself. I would more than love to see her follow a Sikh path, but I would much, if that can't happen for her, then I want her to have that love for God, that love for IK. And so that's my goal anyways with her.
Yeah, I know just from speaking to like Money about his experiences like growing up as like in a Sikh family, and even speaking to other Sikhs, they talk about how reading Bani and studying, you almost just read it and you don't fully comprehend everything that Guru's trying to say. And Money Singh and I are 30 years old. I started my Sikhi journey maybe a little over 3 years ago. Money started 30 years ago. And he even says, it wasn't until I was much later in life, like in his mid to late 20s, that he really started to sink in the hukam of Guru, sink in the true message from Guru. And that's what I'm kind of wondering, like, I would really hope that I could instill to my child not just the words, but the true, deeper meaning that Guru's trying to express.
I think that's tough. It is. And I have a lot of kids, and the one thing I know is when they're younger, they'll mimic, they'll imitate, and you can plant a seed that way. But that seed needs to be given room to grow. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, it's not until later in life that everything clicks. You know the words. You know all the key terms and all the words. But the full grasp or the full understanding, sometimes for some people it never comes. For some people, we had, Guru Harai, was 8, 9, and he was Guru. So I think every child will develop, as long as there's a loving household and a practicing household. I think the children will pick up on that and we'll go through that. So, and AJ's special anyways, she's probably one of the smartest kids I've ever met in my life. I think I got some smart kids. I got a couple rocks too, and I tell them. But she's just hyper intelligent. She picks up on things. She notices things. Nothing gets past her. Mm-hmm. But she's the youngest. The next in age to her is 18. So she has a nephew that's only a month older than she is.
Oh, you sounded like you're like a Punjabi family almost there.
Hold on.
Everybody's getting born close together.
Yeah, my oldest grandchild is a month younger than AJ. So they're pretty spread out. 33 to 7. And they're all different. They're all different, and they all pick up on things differently. So I think if you just plant the seed and give them the love and help them understand, if they can understand by the time they're 18 years old what Ik Onkar really is, the non-dualistic approach to oneness, I think you will have achieved greatness on that side of parenting. In my opinion. Got too many of them. So, you're pregnant.
Yep.
How far along now?
I watched your interview with Money, and according to Money, I'm seriously pregnant.
I thought that was pretty funny when he said.
Oh my, yeah. I'm 32 weeks along, so it's.
Any day.
Oh God, I hope not.
Well,
so I will cooking left to do.
I mean, technically, 32 to 34 weeks is 36 weeks is term.
38 weeks is term. 36 to 38 weeks would be preterm. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm actually a prenatal nurse, so that's why I got to be nitpicky about that.
So at 36 weeks, you will have a fully formed, fully viable bundle of joy. Yes. So
well, let's just, I hope I don't go into labor up here. I've been making jokes with everybody, and you mentioned how hard it is to get up here. You want to see someone get up here faster than anybody? Have me go into labor and tell my mom she'd be here faster than the Orange Flight paramedics would be.
Yeah, what about Money's mom? She's good?
She's, it's funny because, I think she's a little more mellow when it comes to him and I traveling because of his military background. He's been gallivanting off doing everything under the sun since before he was 16. Right. Whereas me, I didn't really venture too far from home most of my life. So even now to this day, it's where's your flight itinerary? Text me when you leave. Text me when you land. So it's a little tighter from my mom than his. But no, Money's mom calls very regularly. I always make jokes that she cares about me more than she does him because she's always asking about me and how I'm doing. And yeah. So. Well,
most mother-in-laws are like that.
I remember on our wedding day, I couldn't find money to save my life. It was 4:00 in the morning and I wanted to go home. And I went up to my mom and I was like, Mom, Money Singh kate? And like I said, where's Money Singh? And she replies to me, she goes, I gave him to you this morning. You go find him.
That is quality right there. Oh, yeah. That is quality. That sounds like... Yeah, I won't tell you what my dad said the night of my wedding. Yeah. So I am third generation career military. My oldest son did 12 years and got out. So traveling, we've been doing it since, I was not even 2 years old when we came back to the States the first time. And I was born in Germany, and we've been all over the place, and we never missed an opportunity to, go see something crazy. Like when my dad got stationed in Arizona when I was in elementary school, we took like 2 weeks to drive from here in Mississippi to Arizona, and we stopped at the Tabasco factory in Avery Island, Louisiana, and we stopped in San Antonio, and we went to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and we went to Judge Roy Bean's house in Texas. All that Western history, went to Tombstone and saw the OK Corral and did all of that stuff. So yeah, traveling's never been an issue in our family. In fact, I think maybe I'm too flighty sometimes. I don't even worry about it. I don't even think that people worry about me when I go on the road. I don't even think that. and Reagan's probably pulling her hair out, but I'm just like, hey, whatever, see you, like that, So I don't know. Family dynamics are a trip. Most of the time, they're comical to me. When my dad gets upset and loses his mind, and loses his temper at a family dinner, I'm like, this is business as usual. And you see everybody else horrified, and I'm sitting there going, okay, keep going.
Par for the course, yeah.
Get it off your chest. So, what else you got?
The other kind of, I guess it's more of like a topic of discussion than a direct question. You mentioned, you and I are very similar in a lot of ways, being introduced to Sikhi a lot later in life. And you come from a very religious heavy background. My mother's mother was quite religious, but didn't get passed down really through the generations. So I wasn't really raised with any kind of religion at all. It was just more morals taught, right and wrong, that kind of thing. I wasn't a complete heathen, and now introducing my family to Sikhi and to Guru's love, I found has been a little bit challenging. And I don't know if it's different from your perspective, because your family has that deep-rooted love for God, whereas my family is like, whoa, this is a completely foreign concept. Like we don't even know where to start.
I think you might have it easier. I think you might have it easier because, they're not coming from a deeply held belief system per se. Mm-hmm. So they would I would think that your parents or your family would almost be a little more open on my end. There's nothing open about it. It's not a discussion that will be had. And they want, and I will say this, I do whatever I want. They're not going to say anything to me. They're just not going to be happy about it. So the conversational tones, from everybody will change, except for my mom. My mom loves me regardless. Poor woman.
Credit where credit's due.
She had a hard life with me. I'm not gonna lie. It's never been easy with me. But she's a lot more. I would say that she's more religious than like my father is, but she's also a whole lot more understanding. She doesn't really care as long it's a typical Christian outlook, I think, as long as it doesn't affect me and mine, it's of no consequence to me what you believe or how you believe it. I don't come from, an evangelistic family where, they go around telling you, well, if you're not a Christian, you're going to hell. That's not the family I come from. Mm-hmm. So, if I had come from one of those families, I'm sure this would be a lot rougher.
It's I've talked to my parents about it, and I've mentioned to them before that when I go to Gurdwara, I don't necessarily know everything that's going on all the time because I'm not fluent in Gurmukhi. I'm not deep, I don't have pages and pages of Bani memorized in my head. And it's more going for that satsanga experience. It's going for that Simran experience. It's going to feel Guru's love. Even just I want to show them things like Langar Hall. Like, this is what Sikhi's about. This is seva. Like, this is what Sikhi's about. And my dad, he's a little more spiritual, I think. He was in a service for 30 plus years and had some mental health outcomes because of that, and did do a lot of soul searching. So I feel like he has that ability to kind of think a little more abstractly. Whereas my mother, God, goodness bless her, she's very much a linear and concrete thinker. So bringing up abstract concepts like oneness, like we've tried to, and even my dad's not sicky, but he's very spiritual, and we've tried to have spiritual conversations with her, and it's funny watching her try to like wrap her brain around it. And I'm wondering, like, especially after the child's born, I'm not saying come to the Gurdwara with us every single time we go, but it would really mean a lot to me to have my parents involved, and I don't know how I can really pull them into it,
That is a good question. I've never tried to bring anybody in my family to a Gurdwara because we don't have one.
Like, and I'm out.
To travel everywhere, to find a Gurdwara somewhere. Honesty to me is always the best policy, and if you want them involved in an event that's happening at the Gurdwara, then I think asking them very openly and honestly and saying, hey, this is what's going on, we're going to do it at the Gurdwara, or this is happening at the Gurdwara, it would be important to me. It feels like it's important to me that you guys attend with us for this purpose, and then let them follow their own thing. I mean, that's your mom concrete linear thinking. It's not your mom. I wish it was as easy as just being like your mom being concrete and linear. You raised in that dualistic ideology from generations and generations, and so everything is good or bad or right or wrong. Everything, this person is this person and this person is that person, and these people do this and these people do that. And then to try and get the idea of SIKH, the oneness, if you've told a very strict practicing Christian that God is not separate from God's creation, that God is in fact God's creation in all things, their head pops off.
I said their head would just explode.
It just goes.
Yeah.
Because that's not a concept that is even considered. That's not something that's even considered. Not only is it not considered now, it hasn't been considered for centuries within most Anglo-European communities. So the idea that SIKH, Onkar, oneness, that the whole idea of Adamo Mantar, Nirbo, Nirver, you try to explain that, and it's not something that registers.
Yeah.
It does not register the same way. And so and that's why I don't even, unless somebody asks me, I don't even mention it anymore. If somebody wants to know, if they're curious, and it's happened to me at work once or twice, if they want to know, they'll come in, they'll ask a question, and I'll give them the best answer I can. But most of the time, it's not anything. It takes a long time to break that seal in your brain to see something that's that diametrically opposed to. And there are people who tell me they're not diametrically opposing thought process, but when you're raised in such hard thought,
even for myself, I remember it was a really hard I think even to this day, I have a better grasp on it, but even to this day, like even though I wasn't raised religious, you're raised in a Western dualistic thinking society. It is a hard concept to wrap your brain around. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, in the U.S., you guys don't have a big issue in Canada, but like in the U.S., we got a two-party system. So you're either a Republican or you're a Democrat, or you're right or you're left, or you're conservative or you're liberal. There's always something or something else. There's always two sides, when in fact there are no sides. Mm-hmm. But and when you're raised in that, and everybody you know is telling you the same exact thing, to try and switch that viewpoint. Now, because I have some evangelical Christians at work, and technically, in the military, you don't have these conversations. But these guys will come. I have had two of them come in, close the door, sit down, and go, "Really?" And I would go, "Yup." Well, you need to come to church with me. Nope. Not going to do it. So those conversations are had.
Yeah.
And I don't have any backup, so I kind of just have to, there's not a whole lot of brothers and sisters down here that, I can go, hey, ask these guys. If they'll go, I'll go. So there's no stars down here. It's a strange place. It's a cultural black hole is what I like to call it.
Yeah, and I know you've brought up to money before, like, when you go up north, you don't have Sangat, you don't have the luxury of living in Brampton surrounded by Gurdwaras. And it's kind of just dawning on me now that even though, through colonialism and all the history that Canada has with First Nations people, Christianity is very prominent, especially in the community where we live, but they do still have values from, their original spirituality. And there are a lot of similarities between First Nations spirituality and Sikh spirituality. And it's kind of just dawning on me now that we should almost embrace that more while we're up here, and that would give us more Sangat and almost, bring Guru's love to the north. One of the things that they really do believe in is like a rebirth, almost in the same way that your soul keeps going until its journey's end. And so I think it's really important. And I feel like I just hit an epiphany, like I just hit a wall. That, even though you are in the middle of the Bible Belt, you were raised in a Christian household, I'm sure you could find similarities between Sikh and Christianity that would just say, oh, okay, here's Guru coming out. Here's Guru for me,
Oh, absolutely. That one of the Bhai Jagraj Singh was doing a street prachar somewhere, and it's on one of his videos, and somebody was asking him, well, I was talking, a Muslim and him were talking, and he said that there are a lot of similarities between the Quran and Guru Granth Sahib. And what Bhai Jagraj said was, if you can find similarity between faiths, you found truth. So where there are similarities, you're probably hearing truth. There's some truth in all of the faiths. And that was, so the places where they're similar, from Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Sikh, Hinduism, pick them all. There's that common moral compass across almost all of them. All of those things, Bhai Jagraj Singh said in that's where you found the truth in what you're reading, is when you can see it across. I think that I heard that correctly, but I agree with you. The Native Americans, their spirituality is in a lot of ways very similar in the way Sikhi thinks of the universal creator, and practice a little bit different, but that idea of oneness, that idea of everybody, take care of everybody because everybody is, then yeah, I've noticed that across several of the native faiths, that it was a commonality between them all across the board. So yeah, embrace it. Take Sikhi up north.
And it's funny because it literally just hit me now that like Sikhi is here. And I guess it really should have hit me a long time ago. I don't know why I just had this wonderful epiphany during our talk here, Brian. But yeah, I've had such a draw to the north, and I think my draw to the north was just because Money Singh and I got married, and like 2 weeks later we were here. Right. He jokes I get a honeymoon every other month. Like there you go. And we were, and I've never been to any other communities in the north. I've only ever spent my time here. And we were actually debating moving to a different community. And then, we found out I was pregnant. And I don't know what it was at the time. And I guess I still don't fully know what it was. But I was like, I don't want to leave. I want to go through this journey here. Right. And I don't know what it was, but I guess, whether Guru followed us here, whether Guru was already here, whether, we grew Guru here, I couldn't explain it to you, but I guess Guru is everywhere. And that's really the big take home, I guess, from that.
Guru resides in all of us.
Yeah.
And all people and all living things, and you never have to go without. People aren't going to talk to you the same way as you would if you were in, sitting in Sangat somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, for me, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm alone, and sometimes I don't. But there are many people who live like in GTA or in the UK or, someplace like that. Oh, I hit something.
We all good?
Yeah, we're good. I lost view. Okay, so anyways,
well, actually, Brian, one other thing that kind of struck my memory that Money Singh and I have talked about a lot, and now that he's not here to interrupt me, I can actually get my point across. Is we've talked about Guru's present everywhere in every being. It is the oneness, and for me in particular. I feel a deep-rooted connection with animals, and I've had this discussion with Money where do you believe an animal can achieve enlightenment, or do you believe an animal can, and he has a different school of thought where an animal can't fully remove itself from the ego like a human can, but for me. You and I are both dog people, so why don't I just start talking about dogs here? Money Singh had a dog that was quite old when he and I first started spending time together, and I was lucky enough to be able to spend about 2 years with her. And to me, when you looked into the eyes of this animal, this dog, you could see the purity that was there. And even in the hospital, I worked in the Emerge for so many years and now I have the gift of working with babies up in the north. When you look into the eyes of a baby, you can just see that pure, just pureness, that pure love. There's no learned ego. There's no learned hatred. There's no, that is the epitome of Guru to me. and you know, referencing back to Money's dog, unfortunately she did pass away. And to me, I really do fully believe that she may not have started to become one with Guru, but maybe in her next life she will have the gift of coming back into a Sikh family in human form.
Right. And I think that I believe like that. And you know, one of the things that Christianity teaches you is that God gave humans dominion over the earth, and that animals don't have a soul. And you know, I love animals. It's just the way it is. And if you've ever looked into a dolphin's eyes, or if you've ever looked into my dog's eyes, or a horse, and you come back and you tell me that animal has no soul, and that animal has, I really would just prefer that you walked away from me and pretended like we never met before. For me, that couldn't be any further from the truth. I can sit, and I'm one of the crazy guys. I can sit and have a half-hour conversation with my dog, and I think we understand one another. Or any one of my dogs. Not so much my lizard. Not so much my bearded dragon. He's mean. So I'm sure I didn't raise him right in some way, shape, or form. But my dogs are awesome, and I'm like you. I believe like you. At some point, we watched a movie not too long ago, me and AJ, and I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but it talked about this particular group of people, Tibetans maybe, would bury their dogs on the top of the mountains so that they would get the respect that they deserved, even after passing. And I thought that was pretty awesome, because if I had mountains, which I don't, that's probably where I'd take my puppies when, I've got ashes up here from one of our dogs that passed away not too long ago. She got cancer. Yeah. If anybody's got any comments about animals, make sure you leave your comments. That's an awesome bit of conversation that I think we don't talk about a whole lot. And I'm an absolute animal lover, so half the time I like my dogs more than I like people. So, but yeah. So have you started nesting yet at home?
Gosh, even before I was pregnant, my house was a mess. It's starting. I definitely did like some thorough cleanings, which apparently is still nesting. But the baby's room is nowhere near ready.
I don't know what to do. I can honestly tell you that in whatever state of readiness it's in when the baby comes, it'll be 100% ready when the baby gets home. And even if you're birthing at home,
yep,
Money will make sure that baby has everything it needs.
Oh God, you don't know Money very well, do you?
Oh, I guarantee it. See, for dudes, and I'm not going to lie to you, for dudes, especially for their first one, they don't get it yet. It's not, that instinct isn't born into us. But the first time that the eyes latch with the eyes of that little baby, the heart melts, and Money will become a completely different dude.
I almost hope so, because he's not even sure about it. He's like, I hope this happens. Everybody tells me this is what's going to happen, and So
He didn't have a choice.
He doesn't have a choice. We have just enough that we can provide the care the baby needs when it comes into this world, but when it comes to all that extra frou-frou and gadgets and knickknacks, we don't have any of that yet. I got clothes, diapers, and a place for it to sleep, and
my first child didn't even have a crib, had a sleeper that went next to the bed in the master bedroom. And then, and as you accumulate children, you accumulate stuff. And so AJ has everything. There's nothing that child wants for. She's spoiled rotten. I'm probably responsible for that. My older children tell me I'm a sucker and that she's got me wrapped around her little finger, and they'd like me to go back to my old self for her. And I was like, nah, I'm good. It makes them so mad.
As the youngest child and the only girl, I think I can relate to how my brothers probably feel about that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. She's amazing. So, yeah, I wish Money could have made it at least for part of it, poked his head in, let me tease him for a little bit. But next week I've got Baha'i Jagjit Singh from Khalsa Foundation in the UK, which will be fun. We'll be on at a different time. Because we'll be broadcasting live from the UK. So, it has to be live, and he's in the UK, which is 6 hours ahead of me. So it'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern time next Tuesday. So I'm trying to get a little more organized. I'm trying to line up, people more than like 2 days out. The fly by the seat of your pants kind of stuff is fun until you don't have anybody to talk to, and then then they get to listen to me drone on for an hour, and that's not good. So, yeah, I am very happy you were on with us tonight. It was, I said, you're like my sister, more than you probably know. And Money and I, I think that bond is there for a while. That's going to be there for a while. So, we're good. But thank you for being on. We will definitely do it again.
Yes.
But I'm hoping as this COVID starts to drop off from the north to the south, right now we're at the epicenter, I should be able to take this entire show on the road, and I'll come back up to Toronto and hang out for a while. I think there's a bunch of guys that need swim lessons. Money. And maybe it'll be time for Amrit. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it was a great evening. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everybody being here. Please leave comments, share with your friends, let them know we're out here talking shenanigans and probably not doing everything the strict SIKH way. But that's okay. Somebody will tell me about it later. But I appreciate you being on. I appreciate everybody who's listening and watching tonight. And I will see you next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time with Baha'i Jagjit Singh from the Khalsa Foundation in UK. So have a great night, and I will see everybody next week.
Thank you. Bye.